would you want to eat beef heart? If you're lucky like we are to be able to go in and, on a quarter of a cow, we have friends that know farmers, and every year, year and a half, 2 years, we are provided the privilege of buying about 1/4 of the meat to put in our freezer. Obviously, with a big family, that's an economical way to eat beef. We get our hands on some of the parts that aren't so commonly consumed. And the heart is a rich source of iron, and all of you out there that are distance runners or distance running coaches know that getting enough iron in your diet and in your body is critical to your performance. So in order to prepare this recipe, you will need a cow's heart, which we'll show you here in a minute. But in the meantime, I want to show you what we have right up here. This is our fire pit. There's nothing really special about it. A few years ago, we dug a hole in the ground and put some bricks around it, and it has served us well for many. Showing you how to cook your own beef heart over a backyard fire that you're going to create yourself. And we've done this once before, and if you can remember the time that we cooked beef heart in the backyard over an open fire, it was a couple of years ago. What is your recollection of that day, Clay?
It was snowy, and we were out sledding, and you were using the fire up here. It was lighted. You were trying to get it really going, and it was cooking.
Okay, what do you remember about the meal?
It was really good. We were like snacking on it while we were sledding.
Okay, so they were having. Okay, welcome everybody to today's first and probably last episode of Backyard Cooking with the Falk Boys. Okay, I have Patrick here with me, and we are down in the basement. It's become a little bit unkempt as we've been home here on home quarantine, but we have a full freezer here. We actually have 2 of them. One of them is full of beef, and I'm going to have Patrick open it up. And Patrick, we're going to try to locate the heart. Open it up. All right. Let's look around there and see if we see anything that looks like a beef heart. Get the light on there for you. What's that say? Chip steak. Nope. Keep rooting around. Read the label on that one. What's that say?
Home dressed meat.
Right. What's it say? What kind of a cut of meat is it? Could it possibly be a beef heart, Patrick?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, then let's take it upstairs and start thawing it out.
Oh, it's so cold.
Here is our beef heart. You want to turn it over, Owen, so you can see the underside of it? All right. It weighs a little over 3 pounds, about 3 1/4. It's frozen right now. We're going to put it in the refrigerator to thaw out. Okay, our beef heart is thawed, and we're going to take it out of the package and see what we have here. It's a little bloody. Obviously, it's heart, so there was blood pumping through there not too long ago. I think I mentioned this is a local cow. This cow was organically raised in South Hanover Township. It was not given any antibiotics or any of the horrible things that you hear about, factory farm raised cattle being given. Is there a recipe with this blood we want to pursue?
No.
Okay, we'll just dump it down the drain then. The iron-rich content of the blood notwithstanding, we will dispose of it, and we'll get to work on our heart rather. Why don't you just zoom in here real quick? So, what we're going to do with our sharp carving knife is remove as much of this fatty outside layer as we can, and save as much of the lean inner layer as we can. We're not going to spend too much time delving into the anatomy of beef heart, but suffice to say, when we're done prepping this, we want long, lean strips of beef that will grill quickly and easily. This is going to be done kind of like steak, so we like our steak medium rare around here, so it's going to be braised and cooked on the outside, and we'll try to leave it a little bit pink on the inside. And it doesn't look like much yet, but it's going to be exquisite. Okay, we're going to start removing tendons and fat here. And I'm not going to show you all of this, but this is what the process looks like. You know, it's just like cutting beef, which I'm sure most of you out here have done. I know there's going to be a few people watching this process that are vegetarians, and you know, I have certainly nothing against vegetarian athletes. I think it's certainly possible to be a high-performing, high-achieving athlete and also a vegetarian, but it takes a lot of planning and a lot of expertise. Frankly, it's beyond the expertise of most college runners to eat a healthy, adequate diet with enough protein while also being vegetarian. It's certainly really difficult to get enough iron if you are vegetarian. It is not impossible, but if you're someone who absorbs iron poorly naturally, it's going to be difficult for you to get enough to run your best without eating meat, and specifically without eating red meat. This heart has 5 milligrams of heme iron per serving, and we know that heme iron, the kind from red meat, is the kind that absorbs most readily. And so the issue with iron is always absorption. It's really easy to get the 18 milligrams a day that you need for women and 12 milligrams a day that you need for men from a normal diet. But unfortunately, it is not easy to absorb it all. So we wind up becoming depleted, especially if we're training hard. So I will continue prepping this, and I will turn it into strips ready for grilling. And we'll come back and we'll show you what it looks like to build a fire for grilling this thing. So Clayton here is going to show us how to apply the dry rub. This, before you dump it on there, this is 1/8 of a cup, and it is a mixture of salt, pepper, garlic, red pepper. There's a little bit of celery seed in there, some cumin, some thyme. Just a mixture of spices that taste good on steak. Again, about 1/8 of a cup is what he's holding there. Clayton, you can go ahead and dump it on. All right, now, here's the fun part. You're gonna roll up your sleeves. You're gonna take your little hands and you're gonna squish all the meat around in the seasoning till all the meat is covered with all of the seasoning. So it takes 2 hands. Move it around. Get every strip of meat covered with the seasoning. Hello, this is Coach Brian Falk, and this is the Falk Boys Fire Pit. We built this thing several years ago for fun and recreation reasons. We love to build raging fires when we are sled riding down this hill in the wintertime. Of course, there wasn't much snow this past winter, but we also use it on chilly nights in the spring and fall, and even sometimes in the winter. Just to sit outside and create a lot of heat and give us a place to socialize and enjoy the outdoors. Today, we are going to use this to show you how to prepare your own beef heart. And we are lucky to know friends that have access to a farmer and a cow, and the cow was butchered by the farmer, and the cow was grown right here in South Hanover Township. It was raised organically, and we bought 1/4 of the meat, which is a godsend for a big family like ours to be able to purchase good quality, organically raised beef in bulk quantities like that. But the question becomes what to do with the organs. We happened to discover the last time we did this how good the heart is. And it probably doesn't sound pleasant to very many of you, but we have experience marinating and grilling beef heart, and we want to share it with you. Why would you want to eat beef heart? Well, one great reason to eat beef heart, if you're a distance runner, is that it's an extremely high iron food, very iron rich. There are 5 milligrams of iron in each 3-ounce serving of beef heart, and it's a highly absorbable form of iron, and so we can get a lot into our system without having to eat all that much. And you know from your studying and your experience that the hard part with iron, if you're a runner, is getting it into your body. We have a very easy time eating enough. We do not have an easy time absorbing it. Iron from animal sources is much more easily absorbed than iron from plant sources. So when we have an opportunity to get some farm-raised, organically grown beef heart, we don't pass it up. And today we're going to show you how to cook it outside on your outdoor fire, and you're gonna turn it into something that you love. I can't even wait to tell you what we're gonna have it with. All right, now if you look at our fire pit, you can see what's gonna happen. I think you can figure it out. There's gonna be a fire there. We're gonna let it burn until we get a bed of hot coals. Here are our grill screens, and we're gonna put them over top, and we are gonna cook our beef heart over the hot coals that we create. You're probably wondering what we're gonna have with our meal. Patrick brought the potatoes up. Thank you, son. We also have some Brussels sprouts, and we're gonna roast potatoes with garlic and rosemary and salt and pepper. And we're also gonna roast the Brussels sprouts in a little bit of oil in the oven with some salt and pepper on them as well. So we're gonna have Brussels sprouts, also affectionately known as what in our house? What do we call Brussels sprouts?
Dinosaur candy.
Dinosaur candy. Okay. Patrick's now gonna season the Brussels sprouts very simply with some oil and some salt and pepper. So we have them in the bowl here. Patrick, I want you to take that 1/8 cup canola oil and drizzle it on the Brussels sprouts. You just dump it right on, okay, because we're gonna mix it. And then we have a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of black pepper. Looks like he's gonna start with the pepper. Just sprinkle it around there until it's all empty. And same with the salt. Oh, we had a spill. All right, we'll have to replenish the salt. There we go. Go ahead and dump it on. Okay, now you're gonna take this spatula and you're gonna mix it around until the oil and the salt and the pepper are evenly mixed all around all the Brussels sprouts. Just exactly like that, nice and vigorous. Perfect. Okay, now you're gonna set that down, set the spatula down. Now you're gonna take that bowl of Brussels sprouts and dump them out onto the cookie sheet. Just dump them out. Excellent. Spread them out evenly with the spatula so that none of them are on top of any of the others. And we will set them aside until it is time for baking. Thank you. Do we have a nice coating of ingredients on all of our potatoes yet?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, in that case, dump them out on the sheet. We've put a little bit of canola oil on the baking sheet. So hopefully we won't have too much sticking. And spread them out flat. And our side dishes are ready to go into the oven. Now we're gonna go back outside and check on the fire. And now we're going to prepare the potatoes. So we have chopped up about a half a dozen white potatoes in there. We already have in it a teaspoon of garlic powder, a tablespoon of rosemary, and Patrick's going to add the remaining ingredients here, which is a teaspoon of pepper, a teaspoon of salt right there in that little measuring cup. Go ahead and dump it in there. Just, well, that's an eighth of a cup of oil, and he's going to dump that in there too. So the oil goes in. The salt and pepper go in. And you're going to take the spatula and mix it around. Mix it vigorously. Get it evenly coated. Let's bring it. And we have this thing going. It's going to take some hours probably until it cooks down to the point where we have a nice thick bed of coals, but that will happen in time, and when it does, we will be ready for cooking. Take on a little black pepper. Take on a little salt. And why don't you grab a spatula from over there in the corner and stir these around a little bit, and we'll cook them down. Just stir them around in the pan until the butter is coating the mushrooms. And we're going to let the mushrooms cook down a bit. They're going to release a lot of water as you're cooking them. Stir them all the way around the pan. All the mushrooms need to be stirred. Okay. Owen is going to show us how to make the mushroom gravy for our beef heart. So let's take 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 pats of butter that we cut earlier. We're going to put them in the pan and we're going to dump the mushrooms in over top. They're going to melt, the butter's going to melt pretty quick. You can dump the mushrooms in over top. Terrific. Now we're gonna season that with just a little bit of salt and pepper as we cook. All right, I've given them just a little bit more heat. Okay, we're going to give Owen a couple minutes to stir these around and cook them down a little bit before we add the rest of our ingredients. Meanwhile, outside we've been adding firewood to the fire and letting it cook down, and the pile of coals down at the base there is growing. It's getting deeper, and that's great news because that means we're almost ready to cook. Now, we didn't show you, but we pressed out a couple cloves of garlic in there. We do want some of that good garlic flavor in it. And now we're going to add a cup and a half of beef broth.
This?
Yep, so just slowly pour it in there so it doesn't splash over the side. Good. And we have a couple of teaspoons or maybe a tablespoon and a half of Worcestershire. So you can just pour that right inside there. Also in that blue cup, we have some flour. There's about 2 tablespoons of flour in there. Just kind of pour it in there, sprinkle it around the pan. Okay, now we're going to continue stirring until it's all mixed together, and it's going to get hotter again, and it's going to start boiling again, but it will also thicken. So it's gonna thicken, the flour will dissolve, the mushrooms will continue to shrink down, and the whole thing is going to start smelling incredible. All right, and as you see, we're bubbling again. We're going to put 2 more tablespoons of butter in. We're going to stir them until it's all mixed together, and then we're going to turn the heat down, and it should thicken pretty well on its own. And then the mushroom gravy will be done, and we will set it aside. Because it is steak, we do not need to, nor do we probably want to cook too thoroughly. We would like to keep it kind of medium rare, a little bit red on the inside. We have our marinade. I forgot to mention I added a little bit of balsamic vinegar to the marinade, or the dry rub that we use to season it, and looks like we're going to be cooking here pretty soon, and can't wait to show you the finished product. Okay, we have a bed of nice hot coals here for cooking. Fire's been a little bit cool and smoky because the wood's been kind of damp, but I think we've reached a stage where we can do what we have to do. I've cleaned off our screen here. There may be a couple of stray pieces of grass on it, but those will burn off quickly. And we're going to get the beef heart on the fire here. And here's the finished product. This is 2.5 pounds of beef heart cooked over an open fire. And the mushroom gravy is done, the Brussels sprouts are done, the potatoes are done. So we are gonna sit down and eat. All right, everybody, the diners are seated at Chez Falk Boy. And we are ready to serve this stuff up.
Is it gonna be a TikTok?
This is going to be a moment of truth. It can be a TikTok later, but we're gonna serve this stuff now. Now don't dig into it without the mushroom gravy.
Oh, I'm so excited for the mushroom gravy.
I want the mushroom gravy.
No, you're not supposed to say that on camera.
The mushrooms smell delicious.
They do. Okay. So. You ready, Owen? Here it comes. I'll just give you some of the gravy without mushrooms in it, Clayton. How's that?
I don't like mushrooms, but it's a good way to season it.
Okay, now we got to all take the first bite together. Move your hands. You just want the gravy without the mushrooms, right, Patrick?
Oh yeah, sure.
All right, here's the moment of truth, everybody. Cut a chunk off and taste it, and let's tell me what you got here. Let's see what our table manners are like. Clayton's gonna eat it like a sandwich.
I'm gonna dip it in.
What do you think, Clayton?
It's good. It's really good. I feel like I'm tasting some chicken nugget flavor in there.
Chicken nugget flavor. Is that a compliment, Patrick?
Yes.
Oh, good, good. All right, well, there you have it.
Not good.
Chez Falk serving up another fantastic meal. Sorry, Chez Falk Boy. And we're going to get on Duolingo later and decipher that so we know what it means. Okay. Dear, what do you think?
It's good.
Is it spectacular?
Mm-hmm.
That's the word you would use, spectacular? All right, was it worth an entire day of cooking and prepping and sitting out by the fire? And
Yes. During spring break COVID-19, it sounds like a good use of
sounds
the
like
day.
a good way to blow off a Saturday.
Yes.
All right, well, as Clay Tall would say, good luck everyone with your own backyard cooking, and be good. And if you can't be good,
Be careful.
be careful. See you later.
Bye.